Right, just a quick intro before we rip into it. My name's Jason Mill. I'm the Director of Pivnish Group Architecture and Zeno Limited. Born in Gore, I grew up in Christchurch, educated in Auckland, and we've been practicing in Christchurch for just over a decade. So this series of slides is going to tell the journey of our last 12 years from very modest local work to taking on the world and doing some fairly big projects. Kick in. Cheers. The first slide is of a building that is one of my favourite buildings. As a child, it always excited me when I travelled through it and experienced the building. It still does it today. And there's a real parallel here about how we design. We're always chasing this light at the end of the tunnel. We're not often sure what it's going to be, and often we get out there and it's a surprise, like a fine day in Littleton. This is our first international experience. Back in '94, we won a prize in a JA competition, and we looked at ideas of catastrophe, Maori mythology, environmentalism, and just the chaos after a disaster and how a flooded Auckland could be occupied with containers and things. Here's some of the work that we did over our first 10 years. You'll notice a few of them around Christchurch, and a lot of it is reuse. Taking old spaces, heritage spaces, earthquake strengthening them, reintroducing a new use into them, and seeing what we come up with. Our first office top right, our latest office top left, or building what we've done to them. We've had to move out. Some more top left, Design and Art College. We've just finished lecturing for 11 years. Some other houses. Bottom right, a house for Roland Logan and Sharon Ning. Again, reuse. It's nearly all recycled, built on a very tiny budget, and just a very poetic little house. In 2003, we were lucky enough to be able to build our own house, super cheap, DIY, can't do it anymore. And we use simple materials. On the left, we've got Corten steel, we've got chain downpipes. On the right, we've got concrete block, and you can see the light, the way it refracts on the surfaces. The house is very simple. It's 99 square metres, but we'd come from a 65 metre apartment. Previous, we'd been in a 30 square metre batch at Taylor's, so this is luxury for us. And it's very simple, it's very open, bit of a cowshed. On the left you can see morning light, on the right you can see afternoon light coming through the skylight at the back. All opens up, recycled windows, and it's full of our bits and pieces. Here's a couple of reuses of the materials. On the left is what's called a trom wall, so the sun shines up, heats it all day, and then it lets out air at the night. Our formal front door that we've never used, and on the right our bathroom with our glass ceiling so we can look up in the pine trees, we can see the moon at night. We entered a portfolio to Wallpaper magazine in 2006, and we were lucky enough to be named in the 25 most innovative practices in the world. We showed some of the work you've seen, we showed some Google Earth work you'll see later, and we showed a sketch for a house we were doing in Nelson down the bottom here, which is some of the 3D work. This is the house completed. It was a house for an international director of a winery in Auckland. He's only a transient visitor, so the house had multi-use. It had to be public, it had to be private, it was an art gallery, it was a house, it was a visitor's. And so we created this box over top of the house that could be opened and closed and sort of changed how the building worked. There's a winery right next door, so often there's public looking in. There's an existing house on the bottom. We built this whole thing in the paddock beside it and lifted it on with two huge cranes, so we didn't disturb the bottom house at all. And there's a real duality between the old and this upstairs sort of zen space that you'll see shortly. And on the left you can see this sort of transient zone on the outside where we can open and close things. So the deck can belong to the bathroom, or the deck can belong to the outside, or the deck can be a thing in the middle between the two. On the right, the large deck, John Panting sculpture that was commissioned, and you can see these clean lines, Corbusier-ish a wee bit. Flows into the interior. His contemporary artwork is just fantastic. Sometimes we'll shut off the bedrooms and they'll have a public art thing that you can walk around the decks and through this gallery, and the bedrooms are enclosed by glass. Mark Dytham described it as fabulously indulgent when he judged it for last year's Home of the Year. It was a shortlist. The houses, we made it into Tashin's annual Architecture Now for the most innovative and influential architects in the world. And you can't read it, but we're up there with all the boys and Zaha. All the other Starchitects are up there, Enzo Piano, everyone. So we're honoured to be amongst those people. I mentioned Google Earth. We've been, Xeno's their second company, and again, you might read it over here. You're not going to read it, but it's all the places in the world where we've done work and the carbon credits that we haven't used. So we've got 169 tonnes for sale, if anybody wants them. But the main thing is we've done all this work from New Zealand. We haven't left home. And here's some of the work we did. The first one was the Burj Dubai. That model is about 5 years old now, you can tell. The top is a job we just finished for the Australian Institute of Architects, 50 of their top buildings around Australia. We've modelled into Google Earth. You can go visit them all. Federation Square here. And down the bottom is the GPS and the photos of how we do it. Christchurch, Xeno Christchurch is now the largest city model in New Zealand, largest city model in Australasia, and the 7th biggest in the world. With 111 models and 400 buildings in it, and we're adding about 40 a week. Some of the local businesses, the building we're in on the bottom right, and these can all be clicked on. Go to your website, put your links in, so if you want to be on it, come and see us. Some of the international work we've been doing, this is Malo Malo in Fiji. We had a brief to do 2,500 waterfront sections. So we use Google Earth to go all over the world and look at all the similar type things. This is early, we've now developed it up. You can see our sort of modern, clean aesthetic coming in. We've now been asked to look at doing 1,500 condos and 2,000 hotel rooms, which have evolved into these towers on a large podium, totally pedestrian, totally water-based. No cars in this at all, it's water and pedestrian. And the bottom's got exhibition centres that can be flooded for boats to go in, all sorts of stuff going in there. There's a project we're working on in LA, in the Hollywood Hills. You won't see, but Prince lives down the road, Simon Cowell's over the back, so we're going to go knocking on a few doors. And we're going to cover this house with a screen. You can see on the side it's made by 2 pieces. They look like dog bones, pressed out of steel, out of a flat sheet, no waste, no secondary fixings. And again, it's this modulation of in and out. And my last slide is some thoughts we had for Brighton. What if we could build cities that could grow with our needs? They could self-replicate themselves on the need of the occupants, not the need of the people making the profit out of them. What if these things could run off wave power, run off air power, run off solar, and self-generate? So yeah, let's build more tunnels and go running down them. Thank you.